And it's kind of slowed down a bit, but a big one dropped yesterday, Joe, and that's the Tyreek Hill trade to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
He was traded for a 2022 first, second, and fourth, and a 2023 fourth and sixth. And then the Dolphins also handed him out a big contract. What are your initial takeaways from this deal?
Big win for the Dolphins. Big loss in a way for the Chiefs. Well, yes, they got their picks. The first round pick is number 29.
29.
And I couldn't tell you the second round pick off the top of my head, so my apologies for that. But I like it a lot for the Dolphins because he mixes well with Jalen Waddle. They're both that's the fastest receiving duo we may have ever seen, honestly. And I think he fits the McDaniel offense very well. Did I mess?
Mike McDaniel?
Mike McDaniel. Yeah. Okay. I was thinking, I got confused with Josh McDaniel for a second. That's in a video on my own channel. You guys will see soon. So I like him in the McDaniel offense because we've seen him with the 49ers, all the Debo stuff they do. I feel like Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill can do that stuff very similarly. And for the money, yeah, it's a lot. 72 of it is guaranteed of the 120, which is a lot of money. But for a receiver like Tyreek, who's only 28, this contract will be done when he's 32. That's around like the end of a wide receiver's prime, just about like 32, 33, I would say. Well, really depending on the health, but have we really seen Tyreek get any injuries? No, I don't think so, right?
Just nicked up here.
Yeah, like the game or two. But the one thing I have that I want to ask you about. Look, the Dolphins are my second favorite team, which I know is weird because I'm a Pats fan, but we've already talked about that with my Jarvis Landry fandom. That's why. Tua Tagovailoa. What are your thoughts with Tua and Tyreek?
So I think, that tweet that went around like last week that the guy said Trevor Lawrence has no excuses not to perform now because of all the weapons around him. That was obviously kind of ludicrous.
Yeah.
But I think it actually works here for Tua because they improved the offensive line, which we'll get to later. They added Tyreek Hill, they added Cedric Wilson, and
they still have Devontae Parker.
Right. So they have solid pieces all around him. And this is
sorry. And a good receiving running back in Chase Edmonds.
Him too. A lot of people are saying it's not going to work because Tua's arm strength, which sure, I get that. But Tyreek Hill is not only a deep threat receiver. He's great underneath. Him and Waddle are two of the greatest yak catches in the NFL. So the horizontal game, which also Mike McDaniel, as you mentioned, is great at that system. They could take any pass 80 yards. So even if Tua isn't throwing these bombs, he's super accurate underneath, and they have loads of weapons. And also, when Tua was at Alabama, he was one of the best deep ball throws in the SEC and in the conference. I think he led the SEC in deep passing yards in 2018, and he was third in the entire Power Five. And that's because he had a lot of speed outside, which he also does now. So it's kind of
he's played with Waddle before as well.
Exactly. And also, if you compare him to Joe Burrow, obviously Joe Burrow is better, but a lot of things said about Joe Burrow was that he doesn't have the arm strength to fire down the field. But then he got Jamar Chase, and he's a great receiver.
Yeah.
And we saw how that worked out. So maybe, adding a great receiver can help him stretch the field a little bit more.
Look, and I think his arm strength is overhated. Obviously, he doesn't have the strongest arm or a top 10 arm in the league, but everyone just makes it seem like he has an absolute noodle arm, which he doesn't. I mean, he can't get the best velocity on the deep throws. I'll admit that. Really, he doesn't have the best velocity on many throws, but like we said, he's accurate. You just point out that he was one of the best deep ball throwers in college, and that's because he had speed. And Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, like I said before, fastest duo I've seen my entire fandom of the NFL, especially the Dolphins. Like Jarvis Landry ran like a 4.8.
Devontae Mike Wallace for a year.
Yeah, well, whatever. Mike Wallace is Mike Wallace. All right, but
listen, I don't take Mike Wallace slander. He was my favorite player back in the
really
day.
That makes sense. He was really good with the Steelers, but yeah, it's just this is new for the Dolphins. Everything. I mean, Flores is gone. Obviously, we have McDaniel now, who's a great offensive coach, in my opinion. We'll see how that works out. Plus, I like how he talks. When he does interviews, it seems like he knows how to answer the right questions and not answer the right questions as well, if you know what I mean. Like which ones to give a complete answer to and which ones to kind of deflect. Right. So I kind of like him as like that sort of coach. And then on the field, we've seen him, coaching the 49ers offense with Raheem Mostert as well, which they signed. So I think the speed is just going to be unmatched for any team, and I'm scared for the Patriots. And the
Now,
Bills, honestly.
let's take a look at it from the Chiefs' point of view.
Yeah.
How do you think they'll go both this year and years in the future? Because I'm kind of torn. I keep going back and forth with this trade on there.
What I'm thinking about is the draft, right? So obviously they brought in Juju and they brought back Josh Gordon, which I mean, as talented as Josh Gordon was/is, he's nothing in the NFL anymore. And I feel bad to say that, but especially with the loosened rules on that substance that I don't know if I can really talk about on YouTube without like the algorithm messing it up. But with that,
they also just signed Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Yeah, I was just about to get into that. So Marquez, I think they overpaid for him personally. I mean, dude, what's his career high in receiving yards? Like 600? I don't. It might be like 800, but you know what I mean.
Right.
It's something like that. It's not great. Not 10 million worth per year for 3 years. I don't know how much of it is guaranteed. My guess is somewhere in the 15s to 20s. But
you were pretty close. At 690 was MVS's career high in 2020.
Really? Exactly. He's not worth that money. I mean, I get you have a need at the position now, but you can always hit down the draft. This is a loaded receiver class. Very good. Like, I would trade up and try and get a receiver. But then you think about that, and then you also have other positional needs. Like, yeah, you signed Justin Reed. You need another safety. You want to who's not good at football? Daniel Sorensen. Corner need. You lost Tre'Davious Ward. Edge rusher, no. They have Frank Clark and they have Chris Jones on the inside. I think they're fine in that, but they have defensive needs they need to hit. Their offensive line is fine. Obviously, they have Travis Kelce. But Juju, as much as I like Juju as a player, he's not a number one. His role in his career is to be the dominant number two receiver. Not with Ben Roethlisberger on his final leg, number two receiver, but like Patrick Mahomes, number two receiver. So I think they need to hit wide receiver either in the first or second round. I mean, they do have 2 back-to-back picks in the first round. So that's what I would say. I would say like receiver and like defensive back for them. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, they have to take a receiver because the Marquez Valdez-Scantling signing, that was like the worst kept secret in the league. They were thinking about signing him even before the Tyreek Hill trade, and then they lost Tyreek Hill, and obviously
and now
they had
he's
to get him.
Valuable to them, like 10 million a year value.
Like, he's a very limited receiver. He's a good deep threat. He'll probably make some splash plays with Mahomes, but they need an actual complete receiver. They need someone
opposite of Juju to actually be able to make plays consistently rather than the occasional deep ball.
Exactly. And I like the Juju signing because I was like, okay, the Chiefs finally have a solid number 2 receiver.
Exactly, yeah.
And
never had.
But this trade is really just like the culmination of poor roster management by the Chiefs. The whole Frank Clark trade, that was a disaster in the contract. They overpaid for Chris Jones, great player, but it was still an overpay. They overpaid for the offensive line last year after the disaster in the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And like now that's hurting their other positions. And Tyreek Hill is a game-changing player. It's not just that he's a great receiver.
He's game-changing.
Perfect for this offense.
Have to game plan around him.
And it's like he's like Steph Curry in the NBA with just the gravity that he draws because of who he is. And so now they kind of shot themselves in their own foot.
Yeah.
So in the first round of the draft, they're down at 29. Now at least they have a lot of ammo if they want to trade up for a receiver. There's Drake London, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson. They're probably all going to be gone by then. They might have a shot at Treylon Burks or Sky Moore.
I think they will. I think one of them will be available by then.
They should get at least one of them. I wouldn't hate if they took 2 receivers early in the draft.
Like a first and second round?
Yeah. But like in the long term, this might be a good thing for the Chiefs because you don't want to, with a great young quarterback, you don't want to get tied down to these huge contracts. And he was, from what I've heard in Kansas City, Tyreek Hill was going to leave at some point.
Yeah.
So it's better to get something for him now rather than he just leaves for free.
Yeah.
It's just right now they're a much worse team on paper. And with how the rest of the AFC is stacking up, it's hard to picture them doing a whole lot right now.
They could finish 4th in the AFC West. They could. I don't think they will. I think that'll be call me crazy. I think that'll be the Broncos personally. But one thing I want to talk about with that for my final point is the Mahomes contract is biting them now. That is exactly what's happening. Because yes, he's Patrick Mahomes. but 10 years, 500 million. It's like that is what's screwing you right now. Like, you do not let him go. You do not trade him. You do not offer him that extension, but you have to understand the repercussions that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think the deal in itself is kind of a steal compared to the other quarterbacks getting signed right now.
Yeah.
But because it's such a long thing that they're tied to, it's kind of hard to work around in that respect.
Exactly.